These are the jobs you may not see every day, but just know we're working hard to make Hillsborough County a better place to live, work, and play. Subscribe to our YouTube page for more great county-related videos, only on HTV.
Good morning and welcome to the April 21, 2025 Land Use Hearing Officer meeting. I'm Pamela Jo Hatley and I'll be serving as your Land Use Hearing Officer this morning. Before we get started, please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, again, thank you, and welcome to the Land Use Hearing Officer meeting for April 21, 2025. If you have any devices with you today that make noise, would you please silence those at this time? And thank you for that. Now, I would like to introduce Ms. Colleen Marshall of the Hillsborough County Development Services Department. Ms. Marshall will introduce staff and any agenda changes, withdrawals, and continuances.
Good morning, Colleen Marsh, Development Services. To my left is Mary Dorman of the Hillsborough County County Attorney's Office, and Alexis Myers of Planning Commission staff will be presenting virtually. During the course of the hearing, a number of other staff planners will be presenting findings for various cases and will be introduced for each item. With no changes to the published agenda, we do have a few continuances and withdrawals. Item A1, the Variance 24-1128, the applicant is Rolando Santiago. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the May 27, 2025 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A2, Special Use 24-1238, the applicant is Todd Pressman. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the July 28, 2025 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A3, Special Use 24-1335. The applicant is David Wright with TSP Companies Incorporated. This application is out of order to be heard, is being continued to the May 27th, 2025 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A4, Special Use 250536. The applicant is Piccolo Buco Tampa LLC. This application was withdrawn by the petitioner. Item A5, Appeal 250666. The applicant is Regency Center LP. This application is being continued by the applicant to the June 23rd, 2025 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. That concludes our withdrawals and continuances.
All right, thank you. Okay, today's agenda consists of items that must be heard at a public hearing by a hearing master. I will conduct a hearing on each item today and will submit a decision within 15 working days after the conclusion of today's public hearing. My decisions will be filed with the clerk of the Board of County Commissioners. There's an appeal on the agenda today. That item requires a decision within 5 business days. It's my intention to get that decision in within that time, but if I cannot, I will notify staff right away. The hearings today will be informal. I will ask questions related to the scope of direct testimony and may call and question witnesses as I deem appropriate. I will decide all questions of procedure. I will take evidence, but will exclude evidence that is irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious. Evidence may be presented in written form, and all testimony shall be under oath. Hearsay evidence may be used to supplement or explain other evidence, but shall not be sufficient alone to support a finding of fact unless it would be admissible over objections in a civil court action. The order of presentation today shall be as follows. For variances, first, Ms. Marshall will call the case. Then County Development Services will have 5 minutes to present its report and findings. The applicant and the applicant's witnesses will have 15 minutes to present the proposal. Proponents will have 15 minutes to present arguments in support of the proposal. Opponents will have 15 minutes to present arguments against the proposal. County staff will then have 5 minutes to present any amended findings or comments, and the applicant will have 5 minutes for rebuttal and summation. In special use cases, Ms. Marshall will call the case. The applicant and the applicant's witnesses will go first. They will have 15 minutes to present the proposal. County Development Services then will have 5 minutes to present its report and findings. Planning Commission will have 5 minutes to present its finding of compliance or noncompliance with the comprehensive plan. Proponents will have 15 minutes to present arguments in support of the proposal. Opponents will have 15 minutes to present arguments against the proposal. County staff will have 5 minutes to present any amended findings or comments, and the applicant will have 5 minutes for summation and rebuttal. The 15 minutes that are for proponents and opponents is the total time allotted among all speakers. So if there are a number of persons who wish to speak, the 15 minutes will be distributed among you. If there are a number of persons wishing to speak on an item, you may designate a single spokesperson to represent your views. When you come to the microphone today to speak, please first state your name and address for the record. This meeting is being recorded. Please speak into the microphone so that your testimony can be heard and recorded. When you finish speaking, please see the clerk to sign in for the record. The clerk is here to my left. Now we'll hear from the County Attorney's Office, who will state the legal requirements for appeals of the Lujo decisions.
Mary Dorman from the County Attorney's Office. This land use hearing officer public hearing is for variance and special use requests. This is the time for interested parties to present evidence and testimony. Once the land use hearing officer has closed a case, the record of that case is also closed, and no new evidence regarding that case may be submitted thereafter. Any decision by the land use hearing officer may be appealed to the Land Use Appeals Board. Should a decision be appealed, the record evidence, including the testimony presented at this public hearing, shall be the only evidence that is subject to review by the Land Use Appeals Board. In reaching a final decision on petitions, the Land Use Appeals Board will only consider the decision of the land use hearing officer and the record evidence, including any evidence from this public hearing. If an appeal is filed, the Land Use Appeals Board hearing shall consist of oral argument by the party appealing the decision, county staff, and any interveners, each of whom may be represented by legal counsel. The following shall have standing to appeal a decision of the land use hearing officer or to intervene in an appeal. 1, the applicant, or 2, anyone who appeared before the land use hearing officer, presented testimony or other evidence, and is adversely affected by the decision of the land use hearing officer. It is the role of the county attorney's office to ensure that no new evidence or testimony is allowed before the Land Use Appeals Board. That was not presented to the land use hearing officer at today's hearing. The county attorney will recommend that the Land Use Appeals Board disregard evidence or testimony that is outside the record made at today's public hearing. Any evidence presented to the Land Use Appeals Board that is outside the record could jeopardize the legality of the Land Use Appeals Board decision, and the presenter of that evidence could hurt their own cause. The safest course of action, then, is for you to write down any comments you make today and repeat them to the Land Use Appeals Board.
Thank you, Ms. Dorman. All right, all testimony today must be taken under oath. So if you plan to speak today, please stand as you're able and raise your right hand to be sworn in. Anyone who is online who plans to speak, also please raise your hand to be sworn in. All right, do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Marshall, I believe we are ready to call the first case.
Today's agenda, we have no vested rights, fee waivers, remands, or reconsideration requests, which brings us to Section F, Site Development Variance Requests. Item F1, Variance 250521. The applicant is Marilyn G. Birch. The request is a variance to encroach into the wetland setback, variance to lot development standards, and variance to fence requirements. Staff findings will be provided by Wayne Doyen and myself.
Good morning. Wayne Doyen, Hillsborough County Natural Resources. This is variance application 25-0521. Request summary. The applicant is requesting a variance from the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback requirement, section 4.01.07.B.4 of the Land Development Code. The applicant's specific request, as shown on the site plan submitted on 2/20/2025, is to allow for the after-the-fact portion of the manufactured home and replacement of an existing deck to be within the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. The applicant is requesting setback variances for existing structures on the property, as well as fence height variance for the existing 6-foot high fence in the front yard of the property. Requested variances, LDC section 4.01.07.B.4, LDC requirement, no filling, excavating, or placement of permanent structures or other impervious surfaces shall be allowed within required 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. Variance, 14-foot 5-inch max encroachment for after-the-fact portion of the manufactured home, grandfathered built prior to the code, and replacement of an existing deck in the wetland setback. Result, 15-foot 7 inches remaining setback. Then we have section 6.01.01. A minimum 50-foot front yard setback is required for ASC-1 zoning district. Variance, 46.9 feet. Result, 3.1 foot front yard setback. Next, we have section 6.01.01. Minimum 15-foot side yard setback is required in the ASC-1 zoning district. Variance, 2.6 feet. Result, 12.4 foot side yard setback. And lastly, section 6.07.02, point C, point 1, point A. Fences over 4 feet in height shall not be located within the required front yards except under certain circumstances which do not apply to this case. Variance, 2 feet. Result, 6-foot high fence in the front yard. Findings, the subject parcel has been certified as a legal non-conforming lot under application NCL 25-0580 for its 0.48 acre lot size within the ASC-1 zoning district.
Thank you, Mr. Doyen. I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
The staff report refers to a manufactured home that was grandfathered, built prior to code. When was that manufactured home placed on the property? And if you can't answer the question, I'll ask the applicant.
Okay, yeah, I cannot remember off the top of my head.
But did staff determine it was
Yes.
prior to 1989?
Yes.
Okay. And I noticed there was a reference to, well, let's see, first of all, the 3.1 foot front yard setback. What structure is that for? The survey shows a manufactured home, and it doesn't appear to be within that distance, but there's a one-story frame building. So is that setback required for that accessory building? And I assume that's an accessory building. The survey doesn't make it clear.
I did not include that one on there.
I can speak to that. Yes, that was for the one-story frame building.
Oh, okay.
All right, so the 3.1 foot setback is for the accessory building.
Yes.
And we determined that is accessory building, it's not a dwelling?
They'll have to have the applicant confirm.
Okay. All right, and then one more question. The non-conforming letter from case non-conforming 25-0580 says that the lot is determined to be a nonconforming lot, and that the building setbacks are determined to be the RSC2 district, which I believe are 25 feet front and rear and 10 side yard. So is that the case, or is the county applying ASC1 setbacks or RSC2 district setbacks?
It would be the RSC2. They would be able to utilize the RSC2 for that side yard.
So it seems to me then the variances are off. For example, the 15-foot side yard setback, it doesn't seem that variance is even necessary because they are requesting a 12.4-foot side yard setback, and under the RSC2 district, they already are entitled to a 10-foot setback, so they're within that setback. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then the 50-foot setback, front yard setback, really, under the RSC2 district is a 25-foot front yard setback. They're still requesting a 3.1-foot front yard setback, but the variance would be substantially reduced, right? By 25 feet.
Correct, yes. They're able to utilize the RSC2 standards, even though it would be within the ASC1 district.
Okay. I guess I would ask the county attorney's office, then, can this application proceed today, or does this need to be revised? And can this be corrected on the record today at the hearing? I mean, as a matter of public notice?
I don't think that it's a notice issue, Madam Hearing Officer.
Okay, so then this case can proceed on the record under the, basically with the variance request corrected to show the RSC2 district setbacks, and that one request for a variance is just not necessary, and I'll note that in the decision. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Doyen. That's all the questions I have for you. All right, we will hear from the applicant now, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Marilyn Birch. I am the owner of the property. This is my husband, Carl Chafee. And the reason for our repair of the dock, not the dock, the deck in the back, was it was ready to be repaired with support, and we wanted to make sure we brought it to code. So we applied for that permit a year ago in May, and then were notified that we did need a variance for the wetlands setback because we were widening that deck from a 5-foot to a 10-foot deck in the back of the house. So the reason for this widening was so that we could have my husband have his wheelchair and or walker and chairs out there to be able to maneuver and navigate on that deck. So that is the reasoning for the widening and the variance of the deck, which does encroach on that setback of the wetland setback. As far as the others, you had asked about that building on one of the other variances. That is just an extra. It's a tool shed. It's no one's living in it. No one will be living in it for sure. So that is in response to that. The other thing is we do know that the house, we have our neighbor here who, this house and property was owned by his father. So he said that our home was put in prior to 1967 when he was there. And also our land sale, when we got it, it does list the house as being in the 1940s. So a lot of these things obviously were done prior to the contemporary codes.
Okay. Thank you for that. A couple of questions for you. The property appraiser's website reflects there being a single-family home, wood frame, built in 1954.
Okay.
But this is a manufactured home?
On the deed itself and on the survey, it does say manufactured. So it is truly a wood frame home that is set up on some pylons.
Okay.
I know my neighbor just said that this was a Walter.
Okay, that's all right. You said a Walter, I'm assuming a Jim Walter home
Jim
or something?
Walter home,
Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
it was kind of a surprise to us also.
Okay.
It's like,
And who was that, who informed you it was that type of home?
Paul,
No, you don't have to tell me
Oh,
the name.
he's
just
the
you said-
prior owner.
The prior owner, okay,
Yes.
thank you. And he's here today. Do you know
Yes,
if he
he is.
plans to speak?
no, I don't know if he
Okay.
plans to. If
Okay.
he needs to, he will.
Okay, thank you. And you said that the accessory building, and so far as you know, how long has that been there?
I have no idea.
Don't know, okay, thank you. I noticed in just looking at, images available online that there are several mailboxes in the front?
Yes, those accommodate everyone on a private road
Okay.
there for Deer Lake.
Okay, so that accessory building is not a dwelling, it is just a,
No,
okay. The fence, I noticed, just again from online photographs I can look at, available online, and these are on the property appraiser's website, and that the PVC fence is there that appears to have been installed sometime around 2019. Do you have any idea when that fence was installed or why?
I do not have confirmation on when it was.
Okay.
I purchased the house in the 2022, yeah, so it was already existing.
Okay. All right. I believe that's all the questions I have for you then.
Okay, thank you.
Be sure and sign in with the clerk here. Thank you, ma'am. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak as a proponent in this application? As hearing officer, I can call witnesses, and the applicant informed me that the prior owner is here. If you are, would you please come forward? I have a couple of questions for you. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Would you please state your name and your address?
Paul Cruisinger, and I live at 19657 Deer Lake Road, adjacent to her property.
Okay. And did you own this subject property?
Actually, my father owned it. They bought it, the whole property is one piece, my house and hers, in '67.
Okay.
The original house was built in the 30s or 35, somewhere along in there. The facility that she's got now, we're pretty sure it was a Jim Walters home, framed on the outside with outside roof and no sheetrock on the inside. When my dad took it over, he rented it out to various people. My brother spent, time there while he was in college. So it's been there a long time. And this side building that they're discussing has also been there a long time. I don't know when either one were actually built. So.
You said your father owned the house. Do you know about when your father sold the house or sold that property?
Had to have been in maybe the early 70s, because he sold it to get money from a mom.
Okay.
So-
What was your father's name, please?
Merritt Cruisinger.
Okay. All righty. That's all the questions I have for you, sir. Thank you so much. And please be sure and sign in with the clerk.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this case? All right, I do not hear anyone. County Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay. And applicant, do you have anything further that you wish to add?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so that was a no from the applicant. So this will close the hearing on variance WS 25-0521.
There are no signed variance requests, which brings us to Section H, variance requests. Item H1, variance 25-0446. The applicant is Francisco and Dana Gonzalez. The request is a variance to lot development standards. Staff findings will be presented by Tanya Chapella.
Good morning. Tanya Chapela, Development Services. The applicant is requesting side yard setback variances to accommodate construction of a new home on the subject property. So per the LDC, there is a requirement of a minimum 15-foot side yard setback, which is required in the ASC 1 zoning district. The applicant is requesting a variance of 5 feet 1 inch, and the result is 9 foot 11 inches side yard setback in the north and south side yards. There is a non-conforming lot review related to this petition, 250551, and this concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. And Ms. Chapella, I did look at the non-conforming lot letter, and it appears it's for the lot width. Is that correct?
It is correct, yes.
And the lot width is 60 feet, and the zoning district requires 150? Is that right?
150 feet.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's all the questions I have for you. All right, applicant, please.
Good morning, Jamie Mayer of the law firm Hillward Henderson, representing the applicant, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 3700, and I have been sworn. This is, I think, a fairly straightforward request. This is to reduce the side yard setbacks by just over 5 feet for side yards on the north and south of just under 10 feet at 9 foot and 11 inches. As mentioned by staff, this lot is zoned ASC 1, which requires that 150-foot lot width. This lot was platted in the 50s at 60 feet in width. And also, as mentioned, of course, by staff, ASC 1 requires 15-foot side yard setbacks. As applied to this lot, that is 50% of the lot gone, and leaves a 30-foot kind of strip down the center of the property, which is that building envelope that they would be able to have. The surrounding area is more of that larger lot ASC 1 area that's more reflective of what's intended by this zoning district. A 60-foot lot, though, cannot function in the same way with applying all of the same development standards that ASC 1 has. Again, 15% on 150, or 15 feet on a 150-foot lot is 10% on each side. On this lot, it's 25% on each side, which is a significant difference. They are proposing, this is a little confusing, this is the new home that's proposed, and this is the existing structure that will be demolished. This proposal to basically 10-foot setbacks, 9 foot and 11 inches, is significant for the applicant because they're able to make a meaningful improvement to their site with a new home that's larger, is a little bit more akin to what you see in the surrounding area in terms of home sizes. And we do find it meets the variance request criteria. Once again, the ASC 1 lot district standards are for a 150-foot lot, leaving very little room for this lot to have a meaningful sized home. Applying that literally, it cannot function with the same level of development that other homes or other lots in the 150-foot ASC 1 district have. This does, as I mentioned, allow for a larger home size, and we did receive some inquiries from neighbors. We did not receive any objections. One neighbor on the same lake to the south expressed an understanding. He thought that he was in agreement with the idea that, you know, allowing this reduction to 10 feet basically for a larger house makes sense. And in fact, even the zoning districts that have the 100 or 75-foot width requirements, so still more than 60 feet, They only require 10-foot setbacks and 7.5-foot setbacks respectively, so proposing 10 feet on a 60-foot lot we think is very appropriate and adequate for providing a degree of side yard setback. Obviously, this is not a result of the applicant's actions. The lot was platted decades ago, and the ASC1 zoning district applied on top of it. On balance, we find substantial justice is done in accordance with the variance criteria. It allows for meaningful relief for the applicant and no harm to the surroundings. And with that, we respectfully request your approval, and I'm here for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any questions for you. Thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. County Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Applicant, anything further you wish to add? No, thank you. All right, applicant says no. That closes the hearing on variance 25-0446.
This brings us to section I, special uses. Item I1, special use 250384. The applicant is Thompson Fuel Incorporated. The request is a special use 2 APS alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. Staff findings will be presented by Tanya Chappella.
Tanya Chappella, Development Services. The applicant is requesting a 2 APS alcoholic beverage permit with distance separation waivers to allow for a convenience store with gas station at 403 South 41 Highway. The property is zoned commercial general, which allows the host use and consideration of the requested AB permit. The distance separation requirements that is not compliant with the requirement is the distance to certain community uses, which shall be at least 500 feet. The proposed wet zone area is separated from the Ruskin Women's Club by a vacant commercial property and a water body with a row of trees. Additionally, the convenience store faces east, while the Women's Club facade is facing south. No residential use exists on the residentially zoned property within 50 feet on the proposed wet zone area. For the reasons discussed above, staff finds that the proposed wet zoning does not pose significant impacts on the surrounding land uses, and the necessity for the specified distance requirements is negated. Therefore, staff finds the request is approvable and is based on a total wet zone footprint of 1,972 square feet. And this concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you. No questions for you. All right, applicant?
Good morning. Hearing Officer Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451 in St. Petersburg. This is SUAB 250384. We're located in the Ruskin area at the corner of 4th Avenue Southwest and US Highway 41. This is a existing convenience store that previously had these type of sales. John Thomas is here. He's the owner and operator of the site. The issue is the 2 APS under CG zoning with the OC 20 future land use category. As indicated, existing C-store with gas. Distance waivers to the Ruskin Women's Club. Community use required of 500 feet. We have it at 208.4 feet, more or less, as the crow flies. So you see the sites at the corner. The Women's Club is further to the south on Highway 41. Showing the distance as per Google at 270 feet plus or minus structure to structure. The site is pretty deep into the Women's Club, or into that property that the Women's Club is on. You'll note that between the two uses is a pretty significant water and forest buffer and another commercial property. You can see the relationship there. That water feature is a feature that runs all the way out significantly away from the site as well. Further out, zoomed outside, you can see it becomes a major water element between the two. This would be on the street, just to give you an idea of the buffering between the two, the forested areas where the water feature is. And again, this is just another aerial view from a different service to show you the separation between the two. Development Services notes and refers to the water body road trees, convenience store between the two. No residential uses exist on the residential zone property within 50 feet. Staff finds as indicated from Tanya, 2 APS would be approvable. With that, we appreciate your attention and consideration. I did check again this morning. We sent out 20 notices, and there were no comments in optics. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pressman. All right, and please sign in with the clerk. Thank you. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Do not hear anyone. All right, County Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further, thank you.
All right, Mr. Pressman, did you have anything further for the record? No. All right, applicant says no. This will close the hearing on special use AB 25-0384.
Next item is item I2, special use 25-0487. The applicant is Hillsborough County Water Resources Department. The request is a special use for wastewater treatment facility. Orlando Boras will be providing staff findings after presentation by the applicant.
Good morning. My name is Laura Bartholomew. I'm with Ardura Group, located at 4921 Memorial Highway, Suite 300 in Tampa. I have not been sworn.
All right, would you please raise your hand to be sworn? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right. So pursuant to the requirements of the Land Development Code, we are applying for a special use to allow a wastewater facility on this property. This site is actually part of a larger program to help provide continued water and reclaimed water and wastewater to the South County. The program components that's part of this bigger thing is shown on the screen. We have almost 170,000 linear feet of large diameter force mains and reclaim mains. We have the subject site, which is the Balm Road Super Pump Station site, which is kind of in the middle of the graphic. And then the One Water campus is going to be all the way to the east of the exhibit shown. So we're doing a little bit of trailblazing here. I understand we are the first public project that is utilizing the new Land Development Code Section G that allows for, that is specifically for design build projects for the county. So please, we appreciate all of the assistance that staff has given us as we've gone through the new review process. The location of the site, this is actually the 4 acres where the pump station site within the special use area is proposed to be located. It is approximately 1 mile west of Balm Riverview Road and approximately 750 feet north of County Road 672. So the pump station itself is the original design is to provide pumping capacity for 56 million gallons per day, but still be expandable up to 80 million gallons a day. The site will contain the pump station and associated storage tank, odor control, an electrical building, and backup generators, access to the site from County Road 672, stormwater management, and associated site piping. The parcel area for the subject site, as you can see, the yellow lines are the actual property appraisers' parcels. All of the land that you see here is owned by Hillsborough County. The two parcels in question are a total of 148.43 acres across two parcels, and the special use area, which is the outlined in red, is 19.1 acres. So this qualifies as a master pump station serving greater than 3,000 equivalent dwelling units, and the requirements for such are we need 20 feet from the property lines, 50 feet distance to the nearest building envelope. The site needs to be secured from public access by a fence, and the design needs to include nuisance control mitigation. This is the final site plan that was submitted. The yellow area is our proposed access at this time. The green is the 4-acre pump station site area. And then the stormwater management is to the north, which is actually on the left of the exhibit. So this is rotated to the side with County Road 672 on the right-hand side. The actual setbacks that we've proposed on this particular site is from the limits of the special use, which are, I should have made this red, but basically start here. There's an easement along the County Road 672. So the special use basically is behind that easement property. And the closest proposed building in the front is about 718 feet. In the rear, which is to the wet well building here, is 373 feet. On the west side of the property to the tank, or the special use limits, it's 102 feet. And then on the east side, again, side setback is 246 feet. So this is our site data table. We have an address of, I'm not going to go ahead and read everything on here, but we are located in at 12104 672 Highway in Riverview. This is a blow-up of our special use table on the exhibit that was submitted. Obviously, this is going to be utilities by Hillsborough County, and the electric will be provided by TECO for the site. When we started, the existing zoning is an AR. The future land use at the time of the application was an RP2, but now it is an NPP/QP as of the middle of March. So the existing use is basically, it's an agricultural preserve property, and we're proposing within the special use limits to be allowed to construct a wastewater master pump station. The remainder of that site would be remaining as preserve. Our maximum building heights are 20 feet for the electrical building and 45, and our gross floor area is 30,000 square feet. So there is not going to be a lot of employees at this site. We may have one or two. One might be a delivery truck and one might be an employee for the day. But we wanted to go ahead and for future expansion, provide an opportunity for additional employees. So we are providing 7 spaces and requiring 5, assuming an expansion. And then the setbacks, the overall parcels, that is based on the zoning, 50-foot front, 25 to the side, and 50-foot rear. But as part of the special use requirements for a wastewater facility, a master wastewater facility, they're all 20 feet from the property line. And as you can see, we intend to be processing quite a few EDUs, 120,000. Moving forward through the new land development process, there are a couple things that staff had brought to our attention that will continue to be worked on, tree removal and replacement. Since our application, we've received a preliminary arborist report. All of the trees on site are considered are graded in the fair to poor condition. Some are already dead. Then there are no grand trees on site, and that information will be provided with our permit applications. We know that the access may be subject to a required variance at the time of site development application, and we know that it could be placed anywhere along the front of the property. And then the pond back behind on the north side, it is in a general location that was acceptable to ELAP, but we will be working with them on depth and size, and as well as plantings in that area, as well as site screening around the property. So I am available for any questions you may have.
Thank you. I don't have any questions for you. Be sure and sign in with the clerk, please. All right. Planning Commission. No, County Development Services. Thank you. Sorry.
Good morning. This is Orlando with Development Services. I think that the applicant was very specific about the details, so I'll be very brief on my report. As just mentioned by the applicant, the zoning district is going to be AR. AR is going to allow for a special use for a wastewater facility. It's located north of County Road 672 and Heritage Trail Line intersection. And with this application, the applicant didn't request any waivers or variances for the special use. Should you have any questions, more than happy to answer them.
No, I don't, except I do notice it looks like the future land use category reflected on the staff report is RP2.
Yeah, it was because during the review process, Planning Commission was also working on the comprehensive plan amendment on the area. But yes, as the applicant mentioned, it was RP2 at the moment of the application and submitting the application. Through the process, it changed.
All right, so now that has been changed as the applicant covered. All right, thank you. No more questions for you. All right, now Planning Commission.
Morning, Alexis Myers, Planning Commission staff. The subject site is located in the natural preservation and the public, quasi-public future land use categories. There was a future land use plan amendment for HCCPA 2446 and 2447 to change the future land use category to natural preservation and the public, quasi-public designation from residential Plan 2. The proposed special use is in the urban service area and within the limits of the Balm, Riverview, and South Shore area-wide systems community plans. The proposal meets objective 1.2 under goal 1 of the water section of the comprehensive plan and policy 3.1.3 of the future land use section regarding compatibility. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed special use consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the proposed restrictions by the Development Services Department.
All right, thank you very much. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? Do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. County Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Applicant, anything further? All right, applicant says no. So that will close the hearing on special use 25-0487.
Next item is item I3, special use 250532. The applicant is Mark Bentley, Esquire, BCS AICP. The request is a special use 2 COP RX alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. Jared Fulham will provide staff findings after presentation by the applicant.
Good morning, Ryan Manassi with Johnson Pope, Director of Planning, 400 North Ashley Drive, Suite 3100. As staff stated, we're here this morning regarding application SUAB 25-0532 for the property located at 7130 Big Bend Road. Just to go over some property details, the existing zoning is through approved PD. It's from file number 84-0276. The adopted flu category is CMU 12 and UMU 20. We are within the urban service area and the Gibsonton Community Plan. The property is roughly 1.5 acres, and it's surrounded by a mixture of commercial, medical uses, multifamily, and single-family detached. Now, this is the site plan we submitted along with the AB permit. We have an existing AB permit. However, the request before you would be more restrictive, and it would eliminate some of the current existing entitlements under that permit. And I'll get more into that in the justification portion here in a second. But we are at the end of a shopping center, and there are no outdoor alcohol sales being proposed. The strip center is orientated towards Big Bend Road and Kings Lake Drive. Additionally, we're bordered by 3 roads: Big Bend Road, Kings Lake Drive, and Old Big Bend Road, which is shown there on screen. Now, the first waiver, that's the distance from residentially zoned properties. The residentially zoned property that falls within a 150-foot distance is actually open space on either side of Tuscan Gardens Lane, which is a long entrance drive to the townhome development to the north. There are no actual dwelling units that lie within the 150-foot proposed AB sales area. The entrance to Kings Lake Grill, which is our proposed AB area, is orientated away from residential development towards Big Bend Road and Kings Lake Drive. And there is right-of-way, again, Old Big Bend Road to that north, which separates the retail strip center from the entrance to the residential development. Regarding the second waiver, and that's the distance from certain community uses, the for-profit Sylvan Learning Center is a small private tutoring center. The justification for the waiver is that approximately 1,200 square foot learning center can really only accommodate a small number of students at any time, which students are accompanied by a parent or guardian upon entering and leaving the establishment. And further, the restaurant has no outdoor AB sales, as I previously stated, and naturally, the site is prohibited from selling it to anybody under 21. And again, there is that existing AB permit for our subject area. This request is a little larger, and that's why we're before you. But what this does is it takes away certain aspects of the existing alcohol license. And something to point out also is that the current AB approval existed prior to the Sylvan Learning Center moving into the strip center. But as far as the AB permit, it'll only allow the sale of beer and wine, consumption on premises, no package sales, which is being eliminated from the existing approval, and also to limit the use of the establishment to a restaurant with the 51% sales for food and non-alcoholic beverage requirement. Review findings. Development Services staff find the request, the AB permit approvable, subject to the condition. Staff agrees with our justifications in their staff report for the distance waivers. Additionally, we agree with the proposed condition. And then overall, the approval will allow for a more restrictive AB permit than what is currently approved. We believe we've demonstrated that special or unique circumstances exist, and the proposed AB permit does not pose any significant impacts to the surrounding land uses, and the necessity for the specified distance requirement is negated. County staff again found the request compatible and approvable. We agree with the proposed conditions, and I would be happy to answer any questions should you have any.
All right, thank you very much. I have no questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And be sure and sign in with the clerk, please.
Good morning, Jared Fallon with Development Services. So yeah, we had no issues with this request. They are going from a 2 COP to a 2 COP RX, which is less intense. The waivers are requesting for residential. There's no units within that 150 feet buffer, and it's all open space, and the entrance to their establishment is away from that property. For the community uses, they are next to a Sylvan Learning Center, but there's no outdoor seating area or activities, so we had no issues with that. And the child care center, about 435 feet away, the establishment is on the other side of the strip center, so we had no issues there as well. So with that, we are recommending approval.
All right, thank you. No
Thank you.
questions for you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? I do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. County Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further, thank you.
All right. And applicant, anything further?
Nothing further.
All right, that's a no. Thank you. And that will close the hearing on special use AB 25-0532.
Next item is item I4, special use 250544. The applicant is Brandon Tampa Investments, LLC. The request is a special use 4 COP SX alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. Tanya Chapello will provide staff findings after presentation by the applicant.
Good morning, David Smith, 401 East Jackson Street, for the applicant. This is a request for a 4 COP SX for a hotel with a beer, wine, and liquor. I think staff is going to correct their staff report. They failed to put the liquor on the summary, but that is essentially what a 4 COP SX is. This proposed hotel is located in a mixed-use, large-scale PD, which is actually also a DRI. Put on the Elmo. Shown in red is the location of the hotel site.
Be sure and pull your microphone over
Sorry,
to...
excuse me.
That's all right, thank you.
In red is the location of the hotel site. As you can see, this whole pod is office, commercial, multifamily hotel. There's actually a hotel ownership directly behind us, but not constructed yet. The distance separation waiver that we're requesting is 22.9 feet from the multifamily development, which is due west of the subject property. The actual buildings on the site are not within the 250 feet. Actually, it's the property line itself. In between the hotel location and the residential property is a large parking lot, a buffer, a 20-foot buffer with trees. The location of the wet zoned area is on the far side, on the east side of the building. And the only part that is not enclosed is the pool area. When you look at the aerial for the property, which I'm sure you have already, is that there's a drainage easement on the eastern side of the property. So when you look at this site and the location of the requested alcoholic beverage use, it is very well insulated from any adjacent properties and would not have an adverse impact. Cambria Hotels has a strong training program for its employees with regard to checking identification of customers purchasing alcohol. This is hotel use. Most of the activity in the hotel is going to be patrons that are staying at the hotel. This is not a club or typical bar that you would have in any location. The main entrance of the apartment complex is probably over a quarter mile on the other entrance on the other side. The only entrance into the hotel, only entrance into the apartments is off of Delaney Creek in front of us, but that is a gated ingress and egress point only for people that are residing in the multifamily project. So when you look at this project, its location on Delaney Creek Drive, the significant barrier that exists between the actual wet zoned area and the adjacent residential use, there would be no adverse impacts on the adjacent property. The area that we're in is intended for mixed use. It is not like we are putting this right next to a subdivision. It is in a commercial area. Multifamily could have located on another lot, or a hotel could have located where the multifamily is located now. We believe that the special and unique circumstances justify the location. Consistent with staff's findings, the proposed wet zone area is separated from adjacent residential by 6-foot PVC fence, a row of trees and parking lot. Furthermore, the wet zone area is located in the rear section of the hotel building, furthest from the residential development, and the driving distance is over half mile. Based upon the location and special circumstances, we believe this is approvable and respectfully request your approval.
All right, thank you. I have no questions for you. Be sure and sign in with the clerk, please. Thank you.
Tanya Chapela, Development Services. I'm providing revised report, some copies of my revised report. There was a typo in the current or the revised version of my report. It had to include liquor. So, yeah, that's the only change. The applicant requests a 4COPSX special use alcoholic beverage permit to allow for sale of beer, wine, and liquor for sale and consumption on the permitted premises only when in connection with a hotel motel. The property is zone PD, which allows the host use and consideration of the proposed wet zoning. The proposed wet zone is within the required 250 feet to a residentially zoned property with a resulting separation of 227.1 feet. The proposed wet zone area is separated from the adjacent residential development to the west by a 6-foot PVC fence, a row of trees, and a parking lot. Furthermore, the wet zone area is located in the rear, the northeast section of the hotel building, the furthest area from the residential development to the west. The driving distance between the hotel and the entrance to the multifamily residential development is over half a mile, as the multifamily residential development access driveway is located on the Lenny Creek Boulevard, and the hotel access driveway is located in the same street or boulevard. Staff finds the proposed wet zoning does not propose significant impacts on surrounding land use, and the necessity for the specified distance requirements is negated. Staff finds the proposed 4COP SX alcoholic beverage permit to be approvable based on a total of 8,099 square feet. And this concludes my presentation, if you don't have any questions.
No questions for you. Thank you. All right, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, do not hear anyone. Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Applicant, did you have anything further? No, ma'am. All right, applicant says no. So that will close the hearing on special use AB 25-0544.
Next item is item I5, special use 250601. The applicant is Hillsborough County. The request is a special use for a wireless communication facility. I will present staff findings after presentation by the applicant.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Officer. John Muller with Hillsborough County Facilities Management and Real Estate Services, and along with me is Jared Delfino, also with Hillsborough County Facility Management and Real Estate Services. Just make sure. Good morning. We are here for your consideration of a communications tower for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office on 9927 Delaney Creek Drive. We do have some representatives here with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office as well. We have Chief Deputy Collins, Colonel Lassat, and Mr. Steve Mitchell. Hillsborough County and the Sheriff's Office are finalizing the acquisition of 9927 Delaney Lake Drive. This is the Grow Financial building, and to orientate you, it is literally directly opposite the last applicant where the new hotel is being built. Will be for a new HCSO operations center, which will replace the current Ybor City location. In order for HCSO to relocate, the Delaney property must have a communications tower for emergency dispatch operations. Simply put, the 911 operations depend on this. Please note that all public safety agencies operating in Hillsborough County, not just the sheriff, TPD, the highway patrol, fire rescue, et cetera, will rely upon the tower. Therefore, to move forward with the acquisition, the county and HCSO must need absolute surety that the tower is allowed on the site.
for the acquisition to take place. When we evaluated new sites for the HCSO Operations Center, the tower and a new hardened communication center were first and foremost in our mind. The Delaney site for this application allows us to place the tower securely in the rear of the property behind the main building and parking garage, and has both the Selman Crosstown Expressway and a large drainage pond as a buffer. As you can see, our tower, which is planned to be permitted as a 160-foot monopole, has setbacks ranging from 44 feet to the east where the stormwater pond is, 113 feet to the south to the expressway, and 678 feet to the north and 1,333 feet to the west where neighboring facilities are located. We would also like to note that we have completed a public siting meeting. When siting a new facility, in this case, the new communications building, we will hold a public outreach in accordance with our internal BOCC policies. This means that the information on the tower and the new building is advertised both on our website. Signage is placed at main intersections throughout the immediate area. Outreach to any neighborhoods that have listed themselves with our community relations department, and also notices through the media. Those who choose to have an opportunity for feedback. Our public siting for this tower was held March 19th through March 30th, 2025. The outreach participation was 247 views on the website, 24 participants from 3 states, California, Texas, and Florida, and 2 countries, USA and Australia. Of those responding, 1 indicated they are a property owner within 0 to 200 yards of the site, and 8 others indicated they live between 0 to 5 miles from the project. Of the 13 documented comments, most were supportive of the project and tower. The 1 immediate property owner commented it would be great to update the workplace for the sheriff's office, quote. Another comment from one of the immediate neighbors was they did not see a problem with the tower, but commented on possible additional traffic with a request to limit impacted trees. 3 other comments were more general about HCSO service regarding patrol units in the town and country, and a comment on the difference in crime between Ybor and the Delaney site. As part of the application, we have requested 2 LDC waivers. First is LDC section 6.11.29, waiver of co-location requirement. Due to the nature of the tower being for necessary and critical public services such as 911 operations and dispatch, the tower must be solely dedicated to providing secure communications through the sheriff's radio system. Therefore, co-location on this tower is not recommended for this application. And then LDC section 61129 D3B4, option to not camouflage the tower. As shown on the slide above, we are going to make reasonable and best efforts to match the high pole structures in the area that are on the Topgolf location and the light poles on the Selman Expressway. Not seeing that category necessarily in the camouflage options of the code, we request to have the option not to camouflage it, but rather we will make our efforts to match what's there in the area. And then lastly, respectfully, we do request an expedited review if possible. Due to the publication requirements and our upcoming May 7th BOCC exchange approval, we are respectfully requesting the most expedited review of this application as possible. I thank you, and we're available for any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. And no questions for you. I'll do my best to expedite, but I can't promise that. Okay.
We appreciate anything you can do.
All right, thank you. Be sure and sign in with the clerk. All right, development services. Yes.
The applicant stated the request is a special use permit for a proposed wireless communication facility with a 160-foot high antenna tower to be located at 9927 Delaney Drive. Hillsborough County is in the process of acquiring the subject property for the purpose of a future Hillsborough County Sheriff's Operations Center. Subject wireless communication facility exceeds the minimum setback requirements found in LDC Section 61129 D2. The proposed tower is located 1,333 feet from the western property boundary, 44 feet from the eastern property boundary, 678 feet from the northern property boundary, and 113 feet from the southern property boundary. Waivers are requested to LDC Section 61129D3B4 and 61129F and G. A waiver is requested to the required tower camouflaging to allow a non-camouflaged monopole tower. The proposed tower location is located on the southeast portion of the property, adjacent to the Selman Expressway and a stormwater retention pond. The western portion of the property contains many mature trees that will screen the proposed tower from view of the multifamily residential to the west, in addition to being located 1,333 feet from the property line of the multifamily residential development. Staff finds no objection to this waiver. A waiver is also requested to waive the required letter of intent committing to shared use of the tower and waive noticing potential users of the opportunity for co-location to allow no shared use of the tower. The proposed tower will become an integral component of the Sheriff's County-wide 700-800 megahertz communications network. The site will transmit critical criminal justice-related information over the county-wide network. The transmission of this type of information must be done in accordance with the procedures outlined in the Criminal Justice User Agreement between Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE, and the Sheriff's Office. Based on their agreement with FDLE, the Sheriff's Office is required to restrict access to their communication sites to personnel who have completed a mandatory background investigation. The consideration of utilizing an antenna tower operated by a third party would make this requirement extremely difficult to monitor and enforce. Given the security restrictions for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office use of the tower, staff has no objection to the proposed waiver to the co-location requirement. No agency objections were received by staff. Staff finds the proposed wireless communication facility is approvable, subject to the conditions contained in the staff report.
All right, thank you very much. Planning Commission.
Alexis Myers, Planning Commission staff. The subject site is located in the Urban Mixed Use 20 Future Land Use category. It is in the urban service area and within the limits of the Brandon Community Plan. The proposal meets the intent of Future Land Use Section Policy 3.1.3 regarding compatibility and Objective 4.4 on neighborhood protection. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed special use consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the proposed restrictions by the Development Services Department.
All right, thank you. Okay, is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in support of this application? All right, I do not hear anyone. Is there anyone here or online who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? All right, I do not hear anyone. County Development Services, anything further?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. And applicant, anything further?
No, ma'am, thank you.
All right, thank you. So this closes the hearing on special use, CFW 25-0601.
This brings us to Section J, Appeal Requests. Item J1, Appeal 250475. The appellant is Greystone at Lake Pretty LLC. County Engineer Mike Williams is available for any questions. And the applicant submitted additional evidence per LDC Section 100501D4. The beginning of the hearing officer shall rule on whether such additional evidence may be presented. The hearing officer shall freely allow the presentation of additional evidence where such is relevant to the issue on appeal.
Okay. Just a question for you. So that evidence was submitted today or?
Madam Hearing Officer, it was submitted more than 5 days, or at least 5 days before today's hearing.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I guess we'll hear from the applicant first then. or the appellant.
Before you start the clock, can we get organized here?
You take your time, get organized, that's fine. Let me know when you're ready to proceed.
Okay. Just look at that screen to follow. Good morning, Ms. Hatley. My name's Mark Bentley, 400 North Ashley Drive, Tampa, 33602, and I represent the appellant. Did you want to go over the additional evidence?
Yes, let's do that first, please. Thank you.
What I had done is I timely filed the CIP plans for the improvements to Cosme Road from 2023. Thank you, ma'am. The map of reservation that was recorded in public records by Hillsborough County for Cosme Road, it's 1980. And also the ITE trip generation for a single-family dwelling. I think it's the most recent version of the ITE. And so these are county documents plus the ITE. I think Mr. Williams probably knows that backward and forward.
All right. And would you just briefly speak to the relevance of those items, please?
The relevance is they all pertain to the existing width of Cosme Road and improvements that have been made to Cosme Road through the county CIP.
All right. And would I assume the reservation would also provide information on the availability for widening or improvements?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So I think I'm required to rule then on whether to accept those additional items as evidence, and so I grant that, and those additional items are accepted as evidence in this case.
Okay, thank you. I guess I'll proceed now with my presentation.
Yes, please.
What I intend to do is go over some of the issues, and then we have our professional engineer, James Catalano, who'd like to testify. Hopefully I can get that all in 15 minutes. If not, I guess I'd bring James up on rebuttal.
I will give you time for your presentation today. I assume it won't be unreasonable, so.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Ms. Hatley, what we're doing is appealing a decision, they call it, of the administrator. In this case, it would be Mr. Williams as the county engineer. Our client's intent is to convert a longstanding commercial nursery to residential subdivision consisting of 13 lots. The subject property where the project would be built is zone ASC 1, requires 1 acre lots. The client's been out there since the 80s running a wholesale commercial nursery, and associated with that is a lot of traffic in very large vehicles, flatbed trucks and the like. We believe that the way our project is designed, its unique features, along with the elimination of an intense use wholesale commercial nursery, which relies on large truck deliveries on a narrow road to be replaced by 13 single-family conventional lots, and adding an important life safety element, a turnaround specifically for emergency vehicles, justifies the relief we're seeking. And I'll show you in a second as we go through the PowerPoint, as a proposed subdivision is not required to have this turnaround, but our engineer and client have incorporated that because if you look at Mr. Williams' comments, that's one of the things he was concerned about, adequate ability for life safety vehicles to maneuver. So the fact of the matter, it is impossible to widen the road as a maintained right-of-way. And I know we've gone down this path before. I think we had a case where we talked about that. And these maintained right-of-ways, pursuant to Chapter 95, all they do is they have to assert the county that they maintain the road for 4 years continuously, okay? And then once they file the map reservation with the clerk, okay, then there's an acceptance by the Board of County Commissioners, so there's a presumption of dedication. So you're going to see that this Cosme Road, which has been out there for roughly 100 years, is generally 45 feet wide. This is in the Keystone Odessa planning area. It prohibits sidewalks. The neighbors we polled don't want any widening of the road. They want to maintain the rural character and things like that. So in the alternative, we have changed the use to a less intensive use and designed our project to provide the very important turnaround for life safety. that the county's concerned about. So when we break this case down, the county says if you do 10 lots, that's fine. There's no design exception or administrative variance required. Just go right to permitting.
Is that because is there a provision in the Land Development Code that sets a standard like that?
Yeah, I guess, Mike can address that probably a lot better than me or Mr. Catalano, but when I was looking at it, what they have is they have typical sections for design, like a rural road section, things like that. So I guess I think it's either TS7 or TS10, and I'll clarify that in a minute, is it says you can have, if there's less than 400 average daily trips, okay, you can have 8-foot lanes and a design speed of 25 miles per hour. However, it says a cap of 10 lots. So
I see, thank you.
yeah, I'll do a better job once I show you the actual diagram. So if you do 10 lots, that's fine. But if you add 3 more lots, it's not safe, which is not supported by any facts or evidence. It's just simply what's in a book. I think this case is like custom made for the variance process. There's so many different variables to consider. The irregular width of COSME. The county had a CIP in 2022 for improvements, and they didn't build per the improvements. And, there's just a lot of moving parts to this. So even the proposed design the county had in its CIP for improving COSME was not out of any green book. It was kind of a hybrid of standards that the county cooked up more or less in terms of lane width, shoulder, sidewalk, things like that. I'll show you that.
Okay, so just to be clear then, your point with that detail is that the county didn't adhere to its own, I guess, requirements under the Land Development Code for the improvement of that road, or its own plan under the CIP?
I hate to be that harsh, because they were trying to put a square peg in a round hole, because you're going to see the design that was proposed in the CIP project is not found in any Green Book DOT standard design or road specification. It's a hybrid based on the unique circumstances out there in terms of the width of the road, the width of the pavement, the width of the shoulder, the type of the shoulder, and things like that. So what we're trying to demonstrate to you is that the road can function safely and is an improvement over the existing conditions. So this case, when you really focus on it, really comes down to these 3 lots. I'm not going to go over the written materials, Ms. Hatley. You can look at those at your own leisure, and we're kind of pressed for time. I want to go through some of the facts that, based on the backup materials that you have to this application and communications we have, and I'll show you, these are facts that both parties agree to or agree with. There are currently 6 driveways between our client's access point and Gun Highway to the west. That's about 2,400 lineal feet. So that would relate to 6 single-family homes. Next, COSME Road is a low-speed, low-volume rural road. It has a design speed of 25 miles per hour. Next, there are not any documented accidents on COSME Road, and the documentation was provided by the county to Mr. Catalano. Next, our client's 13-lot project will reduce traffic and eliminate heavy truck traffic. Next, sidewalks are prohibited per the LDC because it's zoned ASC1 and it's in the rural area. I just need to caveat that, and I'll show you that in a second, is that it actually says internal sidewalks, okay? So, but we're 2,400 feet from Gun Highway. And there was a suggestion by the county, apparently, that we make improvements from our entrance to Gun Highway, which for a lot of different reasons we couldn't, in terms of the limitations, the width of the right-of-way. You either have to get voluntary sales of portions of people's lots that they're living on, or the county would have to exercise eminent domain authority. Next, neighbors are opposed to any widening that may detract from the rural character of the area. And this is an important standard, and I'll show you the DE criteria, and the perspective of the community is one thing that's supposed to be weighed during that analysis. And Ms. Hatley, importantly, 3 very experienced Florida PEs have analyzed the facts and circumstances, and 2 engineers, one being the county's delegated reviewer of our application, are of the professional opinion that Cosme Road will still be operating in a safe condition when the current wholesale nursery is replaced by 13 single-family conventional homes. 3 additional homes will not cause a safety concern or be the tipping point for an unsafe condition at the intersection of Gun Highway and Cosme Road. So both of these changes also they agree, 2 of the 3 engineers, that necessary emergency vehicle turnaround will now be provided. Both of these changes in use and design warrant and justify the granting of the administrative variance from our perspective. So I'll go to slide 1. Ryan? Use that one? Okay, great. So here's the primary issue in this case, and this is an email. This is in your backup. This is in our application, but in your backup, there's a similar email authored by Mr. Williams, where he says the primary factor in this decision was safety and the ability for fire vehicles and other users of the roadway to get to and from lots being created. So that being said, and I'll show you shortly, here's the proposed subdivision, Ms. Hatley. If you look at the northwest, you can see the new road. It's dark. And that proposed road for the subdivision meets all county specifications. Then you see on the eastern portion of the project, the turnaround. That wasn't required, according to James Catalano, who testified. But we're providing that because it was important. If you go back to Mr. Williams' email, he says the ability for fire vehicles and other users of the roadway to get to and from the lots being created. What they have out here today is literally nothing. All these turnarounds, even these delivery trucks to our client's nursery, they just maneuver around off the pavement. You know, it's about 45 feet wide, and they make do that way. So I think we've addressed one of the concerns of Mr. Williams based on this design. And we'll go to, I had mentioned this before, Ms. Hadley, this is a provision of the LDC, and it says in ASC 1, which is our zoning classification, shall utilize a rural design in accordance with Transportation Technical Manual, and sidewalks shall be provided only when the roadway is identified as having hazardous walking conditions. So there are no sidewalks there. There's none proposed. The county's designed from 2023, which I'll show you, shows sidewalks, but they were never built. Because the code prohibits sidewalks in ASC 1 internally, we polled the Keystone residents out there, and they do not want them externally, and residents were, we discussed, don't want them at all. And apparently the county in this case doesn't want them because it's a low-volume rural road with 14-foot shoulders. And Ms. Hatley, what I've given you here is this is from 1980. This is a recorded map of reservation. And you've been doing this a long time, and unlike a conventional subdivision that's laid out and clearly dimensioned, what the county does is they go out there and they generally survey, and you can see how the road kind of meanders. You know, it might be 45 feet in width in one location, and typically what the county will do, they'll go up to the fence line. So the point I'm trying to make here is this is the map of reservation, and you can show the varied widths of the road and widths of the right-of-way.
Okay, Mr. Bentley, we put 5 more minutes on the clock. How much more time do you think you need?
10.
Okay, and that includes your expert witness?
If we shoot for 15, I think we're good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to grant you that. I want to hear the case, so please proceed. Thank
Okay.
you.
So that's from 1980. Here's Cosme Road with our survey. And what you can see here on the right side is the pavement width that ranges from 17 feet to 19.1. So the average lane width is 8.5 feet, more or less. This is important, as the county engineer says the 9-foot lane is acceptable if Cosme volume is under 400 ADT, which it is per the county. Back to Mr.
And do you have documented evidence of that?
Yeah, I'm going to get to
Okay,
that.
Thank you.
The stabilized shoulder width, I'm showing you on this graphic, is roughly 14 feet on either side of the paved road. Okay? So there's plenty of room for life safety vehicles to use the road, and vehicles coming in different directions to pull off the side of the road. And the county, by its own admission, agrees, which I'll show you in a minute. So there was the CIP project, Ms. Hatley, and what I'm showing you is prior to the project on the left, my left side, how Cosme looked, and then after the construction of the project, you can kind of see here it was primarily like they put asphalt on it, and it looks like they consistently widen it if there was a pothole and things like that. So here's a memo from Mr. Catalano that he drafted contemporaneously with his meeting with Mr. Williams. And it says, if you have less than 400 ADT, then he would accept 9-foot travel lanes, 18 feet of pavement. What I just showed you on our survey is we have between 17.1 and 19 feet of paved area. And also, there are 6 driveway connections between our property's entrance and Gun Highway. And along with our project, that would be 19 units, which would generate under ITE about 170 trips. So we're way under the 400 trips. This is important. This is an internal email from Ben Neasley. He's a PE with Hillsborough County. And apparently he was delegated the responsibility to analyze our client's application for administrative variance. And you can see here, he says the key points is the AV is unusual in the request to maintain Cosme Road's 16-foot wide pavement width. And here again, I've showed you it's really in the range of 17 feet to 19.1. Then he says, in my view, the justification is rational considering the circumstances. Then he goes on to say there's only 6 driveways between Gunn and the developer's entrance, and the development will reduce truck traffic as it's replacing a wholesale nursery, and there's no accidents in the current condition. Here's the ITE, the most recent edition, and what it says is average number of trips for a single-family conventional home per day is 9.43. So when you take the 6 lots Mr. Neasley mentioned, along with our client's proposed 13, it comes out to 179, 180 ADT on Cosme. So here's from the posted county CIP. The project, this is from 2022, objective was to maintain the county's roads in a safe and serviceable condition and improve travel reliability. So here are a set of the signed and sealed plans. And it says the contractor was supposed to build the project in accordance with plans and specs on the lower left. And here's what I was talking about earlier, Ms. Hatley, is this is kind of a hybrid. When you look at, for example, it says lane widths, it says it varies 10 to 12 feet. Then it has grass shoulder without dimensions, but it's in the range of like 6 feet. Then it says sidewalk, et cetera. Then if you look on the right side, it says traffic data design speed 25 miles per hour. So this is kind of a hybrid in design. It's not out of the conventional green book, it's my understanding. And the county obviously didn't build the project to those plan specifications I just showed you. And this is April 2023, right after the project was constructed, that photograph. So anyhow, back to this table, which is very important. As I mentioned, we average between 17.1 and 19 feet wide in terms of lane width, and there are 170 trips. So we believe that we fulfill the county engineer's requirements for the design exception. This is the Florida Green Book, and this is considered like the Bible for transportation engineers, essentially. And what it says here is design exceptions or justification required criteria are not applicable. Project can be safe by not following criteria. Environmental or community needs prohibit meeting criteria. And I think we fall within all 3 of those. And then I wanted to point out one thing. Typically, in a variance situation, you know, under Florida case law, is that cost or economic issues don't properly serve as a basis for a hardship. However, in the Green Book, cost is a concern. So if the county, which they have suggested that we widen Cosme Road for 2,400 lineal feet from our property to Gunn, just for 12 inches, we have a cost estimate of $415,000. And for 24 inches, that would be $715,000. And I got those estimates from Mr. Catalano. So I think it's important that the significance of this project, it was built 2 years ago and was required to meet safety standards for life safety and traffic volume at least 400 ADT. So we assume the county created a safe road that will accommodate two-way traffic and life safety vehicles, and it should be able to handle 3 more units. So what I'll do is I don't want to press my luck. I've got more information, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Catalano now, and then maybe on rebuttal I can touch on a few
That's fine. I have one question for you, though, please.
Sure.
When someone applies for, and this is a design exception, Is that correct?
Or they call them administrative variances too,
Variance.
and I'd have to defer to Mike about
Okay.
that. Yeah.
An administrative variance. What are the specific criteria in the Land Development Code that staff bases a decision on, is required to base a decision on?
It's my understanding is the Green Book design exception criteria. There might be some other criteria in the Land Development Code, but based on my research, it's what's in the Green Book. And if you look early on, the first email in your backup is Mr. Williams says it doesn't meet the Green Book requirements for a design exception.
Right, I saw that, but my question goes to case law regarding variances and specific criteria adopted by the legislative body of the government. And in this case, is the Green Book adopted by the county commissioners as part of our local law?
I don't know. That was a good question, too. I was trying to sort out I was under the impression, and James or Mike can answer that it was incorporated by reference into the Land Development Code.
There's a section in, let's see, this is, I think it's Land Development Code, section 6.04.03. I think it's L, existing facilities. And if you can't answer this, Mr. Bentley, maybe your expert could, and I'd hear from the county after the appellant testimony. But this section in the Land Development Code refers to existing facilities and says improvements and upgrading of existing roadways are to conform with standards for new roadways of the same access class. Exception to these standards shall be allowed only where physically impossible for the permittee to comply or otherwise upgrade existing site conditions. Is that a section that is applicable here, to your knowledge?
Well, I guess it could be, but the issue is, I mean, certainly this right-of-way doesn't meet any kind of county standards. I think no one's going to debate that. I mean, in terms of the width of the road. And then in terms of the width of the pavement, the county engineer has said 9 feet per lane is acceptable. And like I said, ours is 17.1 to 19. And so our average is right in the ballpark of 9 feet. So, and then coupled with that, you're familiar with the Nolan and Dolan cases, the rough proportionality. It would be fundamentally unfair to impose what is, in essence, a public works project on this 13-lot subdivision, which would really create a lot of public benefit, not only for our client, okay? So and also add about an additional cost of $55,000 per unit. So we don't think it's economically feasible, okay? It might be physically feasible for our client to go out there and add a foot or two and widen that road, but we don't think it's necessary based on all the circumstances that I've tried to explain to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
James?
Yes, I'd like to hear from your expert now. Thank you. Please sign in with the clerk, too.
Good morning. I'm James Catalano, Catalano Engineering, 2119 West Cass, and I have been sworn. I can address those issues if I may.
Also, I would like for you to address, please, in your comments, whether in your expert opinion is it physically impossible to comply with the standards for new roadways of the same access class?
Yes, it is, and that's actually why we're here. There's 2 typical sections that the county publishes that are relevant here. One we refer to in our variances, TS10, and the TS10 applies to private developments, internal roadways, subdivisions for 10 lots or less. The next step up goes into the public category, and that's TS7. I think the minimum right-of-way there required is 84 feet. There's 5-foot sidewalks on either side, a certain drainage ditch side slope required, certain shoulder stabilization width required, certain lane width required, and that's where the impossibility comes in. And I want to say that this is in no way a criticism of the county staff or the county engineer. We're in the gray area that happens every now and then. So we don't have 10 lots. We're proposing 13. The Green Book is used as an overlay, as a backdrop for all transportation code in the state, county by county, state by state. But the Green Book itself is published by the state road system, the DOT, and they don't get involved in subdivisions. So what Mr. Williams has at his disposal is a threshold of 10 lots or less, a de minimis threshold that he can use for this sort of situation. And if we were 10 lots, we wouldn't be here. The other issue is that this client is at the very end of a half mile of a dead-end road. So making that improvement, they're encumbered with the entire road. So that gets into the other category you asked about, was what are the criteria for this sort of thing? And Mr. Bentley mentioned the criteria that's in the Green Book, but I think maybe what you're referring to is the criteria that's in that Land Development Code. And the first and foremost...
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. The first and foremost is there an unreasonable burden on the applicant? And we do discuss that. The second is the variance would not be detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare. I think Mr. Bentley addressed that as well. And the last one is without the variance, reasonable access cannot be provided. We talked about that as well, reasonable access, meaning that if you remember those thresholds that Mr. Bentley showed you with the green highlighting, that's taken from the Green Book. And what Mr. Williams is referring to is that de minimis threshold. So if this was to not go through and the client was to pave the entire half mile, anybody in that half mile, any of those 10 and 20 acre properties could develop 200 lots and use the improvements that our client installed. So I think we're really leaning on there's an unreasonable burden.
Okay, and I saw in the record that there's I guess probably in your request for the exception, there's a discussion, I believe it's your report, of all of those criteria you just mentioned.
Yes, ma'am.
So those represent your opinion as to I guess, the unreasonable burden on the applicant and the detrimental to the public health wouldn't be detrimental to public health, and reasonable access cannot be provided. Those in your report address each of those, right?
Yes. The really unusual part here
Keep talking. I just want to pull something up.
is that in this particular case, we asked them to also be inside the Keystone Odessa Overlay District, which doesn't allow sidewalks. It goes back to the impossibility part. It's that, rock and a hard place. And the road is served by a constituency that doesn't want a widening. So we'd have to, again, fight that battle.
Okay.
And Ms. Hadley, while we're on the subject, I pulled back up the COSME CIP, and you heard Mr. Catalano mention these standard specifications for the roads that Mr. Williams uses on a routine basis, TS7, TS10, they have different specifications. But what you can see here is our situation was so unique is the county created its own design and specs for, is that correct, James?
For that purpose, right.
Would you just describe that?
Well, it's a typical section to work with what they have. Their idea is to make things safe and usable, and they don't have the right of way for a TS7, a standard county. This is called a typical section. So, yeah, these are improvements that can be made.
Mr. Catalano, are the TS10 and TS7, are those standards from the Green Book or the counties?
No, that's the counties, but all that is derived from the Green Book.
Okay.
The Green Book is the backdrop.
And if the design exception were approved in this case, or the administrative variance were approved in this case, how wide would the whole road be?
Right now, it's about 17 feet, and it flares up to about 19 feet. But the way they left it when they resurfaced it, it's a lovely rural road, frankly. It's about 17.1 feet at its narrowest and 19.4 at its widest.
And how wide is an emergency vehicle?
About 8 feet.
An emergency vehicle is about 8 feet wide?
We're talking bumper to bumper. About 8 feet, bumper to bumper is what you plan for. The issue of the emergency vehicle being added to the property, we originally had 15 lots, but it was so close that when we added that turnaround, that cul-de-sac, that we lost 2 lots. And the reason that cul-de-sac is on our property is because Cosme Road dead ends at our property, and then it serves these little private roads and little pig trails that go down to the lake where people live on the lake. And those roads were highly substandard. Some of them are not paved. So therefore, they required a turnaround on our property.
And so from my review of the record, all of that is going away, correct? All that whole area is being subdivided for these 13 lots?
No, just the landscape nursery. All the surrounding lots stay the same. The issue was that if you have 2 entrances to a subdivision, you're not required to have the turnaround. Because ours was considered a kind of a dead end, we put in the turnaround. So if you're over 150 feet long, you're required to have an emergency vehicle turnaround. So we added that because the little roads that surround our property are, highly substandard. Some are dirt, some are, rock and shell and poorly paved, and they're privately maintained.
Okay, and so I'm looking at this slide that you have up on the overhead right now, and that's basically the proposed subdivision plat.
This is actually approved preliminary plat from the county. That's that version. Sorry.
Yeah,
catch that?
remember to stay on the microphone, and you can raise it up if you want to. So on that slide, then the roadway that is in red, is that the internal roadway?
Yes, it is. That would be the TS10 example, for instance.
Okay, so that road is not at issue, is that correct?
No, it's the viability of Cosme Road that feeds it.
Okay, so then it's about a half a mile of Cosme Road, and that is not really illustrated on this slide, is that correct?
Not on this particular slide, no.
Okay, and then there's an aerial in the backup records that show Cosme Road, and it's in red dashes. So I think that's the area you're talking about. It's just Cosme Road, is that correct?
Right, and the north red dash in that is from the CIP plan, but that is Cosme Road.
All right, and that is Cosme Road between Gun Highway, or some distance off Gun Highway, all the way to your client's property, correct?
It intersects with Gun Highway on the west, and then it dead ends on the east at our client's property. It's about 2,400 feet.
I just want to make sure I understand what the roadway we're talking about here. Okay.
And Ms. Hadley, why?
And I'm sorry, you need to be on the microphone, please. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I just have a question for James while you're up here. We started this discussion that 10 was de minimis and we wouldn't have to get a design exception, but 13 changes the complexion. That's why we're here. In your professional opinion, would the addition of 3 lots cause a deficiency in safety at the intersection of Gun Highway and Cosme Road?
No.
And please step up to the microphone, sir.
And my answer is definitive no, mainly because we're changing the nature of the traffic. We're taking off the truck traffic and the commercial traffic into a uniform residential traffic.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't think I have any more questions for you. Thank you so much. Please be sure and sign in.
Can I have you state your name and address for the record?
I'm James Catalano, 2119 West Cass.
Thank you.
And is Elmo working by any chance? I thought you'd be interested. These are current.
Be sure and be on the microphone, Mr. Bentley.
For the record, I just put up some photographs of these are trucks that go to the property right now, and you can see the scale of these things, and so that would be eliminated.
Okay, and those are actual vehicles that use the property, is that correct?
I think a couple are, and a couple might have been pulled off from online.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to hear, okay, I'm sorry, that's additional evidence. I don't think we've accepted that into the record, that photograph, right?
That's a good point.
But I understand your point about commercial vehicles, and I understand your point about the size of them, and so that's acknowledged.
Okay. Does the county have any objection to us filing that? Do you? Okay. I won't file
And I would like to hear from the county on some of those questions I had regarding what are the criteria for an administrative variance in this case?
So, good morning, Madam Hearing Officer. This is Mike Williams with Hillsborough County Development Services and also County Engineer. I'm sorry, what was your question again?
My question is, what are the criteria as set out in the Land Development Code for an administrative variance, applied to this case? So that first.
Yeah, the Land Development Code has 3 criteria. First, there's an unreasonable burden on the applicant, and you have to prove all 3 of these. It's not just one. Second one is the variance would not be detrimental to the public health, safety, and welfare. And the third is without the variance, reasonable access cannot be provided.
All right, thank you. Actually, my other question also went to how does that section in the Land Development Code apply from section 6.0403 L regarding existing facilities? And it states improvements and upgrading of existing roadways are to conform with standards for new roadways of the same access class. Exception to these standards shall be allowed only where physically impossible for the permittee to comply or otherwise upgrade existing site conditions. Is that applicable here?
It is. And they spoke on a couple things, but TS7, I agree, it is physically impossible to implement TS7. TS10, it would not really be applicable because they have, first of all, more than 10 lots. It's not a minor subdivision because they'll likely need a SWIFMUD permit. And so TS10 is not really an applicable standard in this case. They spoke a lot about sidewalks. Sidewalks have never been an issue here. We never raised that. It was never part of any discussion here.
Okay, so sidewalks, that's irrelevant. They're not going to be required here.
Yeah, I would stipulate to that the Keystone overlay kind of overrules that.
And then just to make sure, to be clear, I understand, was it your testimony that it would be impossible, physically impossible, for the permittee to comply with the TS7 requirement?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I guess then, could you speak to your reasons for denying the exception?
Sure, and a couple of those were misstated. First of all, the application said the roadway was 16 feet wide, or the original letter, which was part of the basis of it. It's also the Florida Green Book criteria, which the Green Book is based in Florida statute. Florida statute requires that DOT implement or create a standard for all roads in the state, which is, the state highway system has higher standards mostly than what the Green Book has. So that's kind of the intent of the Green Book, is roads just like this. So they don't comply with that. And then the minimum fire standard I was referring to was not about the turnaround. The turnaround, I didn't look at the size of it to make sure it meets our criteria, but presumably it does. What I was speaking to is fire rescue has in their codes requirements for two-way traffic, and what they have does not meet those criteria. So, and that's for cause me from gun to the site, not for actually on the property.
And is that part of the county's land development code?
The LDC, I believe, refers to the fire code, but it's in the fire code, that specific criteria.
All right. Could you address then the three criteria? is there an unreasonable burden on this applicant? And would the variance be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare? And without the variance, could reasonable access be provided to a subdivision with 13 lots?
Sure. Well, I already said TS7 is not possible, obviously, without purchasing more land, which is not the expectation here. Is there a reasonable alternative that they could do? I believe there is, and they have a couple alternatives. They could widen the road to a reasonable standard, or they could reduce the lots by 3 lots that was spoken about earlier. So that's the unreasonable burden. Detrimental or variance would not be detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare. Mr. Catalano just testified about the intersection of Gunn and Cosme, and would this create an unsafe condition at the intersection? I agree with him that no, there's not an unsafe condition at the intersection. The unsafe condition is by the additional traffic that would be generated by these 13 lots and more use on the road, more cars coming in and out. So that's where and the fact that it doesn't meet those minimum standards that I spoke about earlier, that is the Green Book and the minimum fire. So I believe B is not met. And then C, without the variance, reasonable access cannot be provided. I don't disagree with what they've said in the variance request there, so.
All right, so C, reasonable access, you don't disagree with that. You do disagree with B, the variance. In your opinion, would the variance be detrimental then to public health, safety, and welfare? And would that go to because of the emergency vehicle access?
Yeah, and the Florida Green Book criteria that's not met.
Okay. The unreasonable burden on the applicant, did you disagree with their argument there?
I did.
Okay. You believe that they could widen the road and that it wouldn't be an unreasonable burden?
Correct.
Okay.
Or reduce the lots to 10.
How much would they need to widen the road?
Usually we have a discussion with the applicant, but probably to 20 feet. That's usually the minimum standard that.
And is there, okay, 20 feet, so that would provide 10-foot lanes?
Yes, ma'am.
And is there that much in the right-of-way that could be done?
I believe so. I have not seen any documentation to the contrary.
Okay. Do you
We've
know?
had other applicants that have done that in similarly situated rights of way.
Do you know how wide the right-of-way is on Cosme Road in that area?
Well, they stated that it's mostly around 45 feet.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it varies some, too. They did say that.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else you would like to add for the record?
They spoke about the trips and the 6 driveways. I believe there's more driveways that connect. They just talked about at the end that they called them the pigtail or the pig trails leading down along Lake Pretty, and so there's additional lots down there. So that would add more traffic than the 6 plus 13 that they spoke about. The county typical section that they had, they should put up on the screen. Every one of those dimensions said varies, which basically essentially means they go out there, put back what's there, albeit with new pavement. And the pavement is in good condition. I don't disagree with that, but it's that's kind of the standard for roads like this that they do. They don't have the funds to bring them up to current standards, so they just repave what's there. Yeah, I think that's it,
Okay.
unless you
Right.
have any questions, of course.
I think we've exhausted all my questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Applicant?
Thank you, Ms. Hadley. I'll wrap this up here.
And make sure you're on the microphone. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I want to take you back to this slide. This is from the reviewer for this case, Mr. Ben Neasley, and his recommendation, Mr. Williams, and he says key points, Cosme Road, 16-foot wide pavement. He even recommends approval for the variance under the assumption that it was 16 feet wide, and we know based on the survey, it's 17 feet to 19.1 feet, and I've given you that. Mr. Neasley also states there's only 6 driveways between Gunn and the development entrance, 2,400 lineal feet. The development will reduce truck traffic as replacing a wholesale nursery, and there are no accidents in the current condition. And then what I mentioned here is that because we're seeking 3 more lots, the suggestion is by the county is that we should widen to have 10-foot lanes, and that contradicts Mr. Williams. In this slide, he said if there's less than 400 ADT, you can do 9-foot lanes. Okay? The issue about the fire codes, that's outside the scope of, I think, this hearing, and Mr. Catalano is working with the fire marshal on that issue, and here again, that plat has been approved.
Mr. Bentley, this slide right here, where exactly is that from? That looks like an excerpt from a report.
This is from the Green Book, these minimum lanes, the table.
I mean, this communication.
This is, Mr. Catalano met with Mr. Williams, and I can get him to come up here and verify it if you like. And as a result of that meeting, here are his notes in the table that was provided to him.
Okay, these are Mr. Catalano's
Yes, ma'am.
notes. Okay.
Okay. I'd like to get into the record this Loper Wright Enterprises case, the one that overruled Chevron by the U.S. Supreme Court last year. There's about the deference to administrative interpretation. That's changed. Also, Nolan and Dolan cases, and I'll get those to the clerk. But just in summary, the design exception should be granted as TS7 doesn't work or TS10 doesn't work. And we're providing adequate lane width. We've had an experienced PE who testified that the road would still be safe with the addition of 3 lots. The road was repaved and shoulder stabilized by the county in 2023. The low volume, less than 400 ADT, it's more like 180, is acceptable to the county engineer based on that chart. The wholesale nursery would be replaced by a less impactful 13-home project, which will eliminate adverse impacts of large commercial vehicles. Our project will now be the first time out there provide a turnaround for life safety vehicles. Our client has essentially donated 25 feet to the county for Cosme Road without the receipt of any kind of compensation. You know, on these maintained right-of-way issues, they don't advertise. They will advertise them in a newspaper of general circulation, but they don't send direct notice that they're taking your property, basically, once they file the map. It's unreasonable to require the last owner on the block to spend over $700,000 to accommodate 3 additional homes unnecessarily. It's probably unconstitutional, as there's really no essential nexus between the need and the minimal impact of our client's project, the 3 single-family residences, which would generate on ADT roughly 27 trips per day. The widening obligation is unreasonable on its face, as even the county engineer, Mr. Neasley, said redevelopment from a nursery to single family will reduce impacts and obviously any need for widening. So with all due respect, we'd appreciate your positive recommendation and overrule the administrator. And thank you so much for the extra time.
You're welcome. Like I said, I will try to get this decision in within 5 working days, but I might not be able to, and I'll let staff know if I can't, but I'll get it in just as soon as I can.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Thank you, and that closes the hearing on Appeal 25-0475, and that concludes the Land Use Hearing Officer meeting for today.